Okay, here's some tough love. Some of the worst movies I've seen have been horror films. Percentage-wise, this genre could be better. And it's frustrating as a fan to see awful ones still being made, when there's still many fantastic horror films out there that deserve attention just as much as dramas and masturbatory biopics. So today, let's have some fun and go through another batch of 6 horror films that are actually good. Comment with any movies I missed, and subscribe to support the channel. First is Hereditary. For reasons I really should do a video about, Hereditary didn't scare me. Maybe the trailer set the wrong expectations. I thought I would watch something bizarre, some disturbing mix of dollhouses, genetics, and the human tennis racket.
Probably a little suspicious.
And I feel like the more interesting elements weren't explored as much as conventional ones. Wait, where'd my viewers go?
And it's gone.
I don't really mean this as a negative. I may not have personally gotten a terrifying experience, but what I did get was a movie that had the intelligence needed for good drama and the fearlessness for good horror. The tension in a dinner conversation rises to a shocking level, but never takes a cheap step to get there. The dialogue rings with such authentic hurt and rage. And of course, when we get to the horror, let's just say I don't think any film can use piano wire again. This seems like a peak. I also like the visual choice for possession. This evil is fast, efficient, and effortless. It also apparently loves death metal. Speaking of music, the saxophone-based score by Cullen Stetson is excellent. I can talk all day about horror films being snubbed at the Oscars. I even did a video about it, and that was just scratching the surface. Some of these snubs are disappointing but understandable. Others are irritating. Toni Collette not being nominated for Hereditary is a direct insult to the actress, the film, and the horror genre. The heights she reaches, the subtleties she employs, the facial transitions and physicality of the role are the reasons we have acting awards. That snub was bullshit, through and through.
So why was she there?
Right, we're stopping this right now. What's that? I said stop right now.
Fine.
We've seen vampires, we've seen gore, and we've seen horror in the winter. What makes my number 5 pick, 30 Days of Night, special isn't just that it combines all these things. What stood out to me the most is that it's so mean. These aren't the posh Scarlet Pimpernel villains from Interview with a Vampire, nor the teens from Twilight whose superpowers include sparkly skin, ruining baseball, and shit dialogue. 30 Days of Night gives us vampires that are more like animals, feral and hunting in packs, exemplified best in a horrific bird's eye view scene as they lay a feeding frenzy upon the town. As animals, they're terrifyingly intelligent, using victims as bait and having the leader strategize their attacks. And that's where this cruelty comes into play. Their emotions are advanced enough to not just eat for sustenance, but for satisfaction. They play with their food, toying with them, tenderizing them, and as a result, there are a few moments that I found hard to watch. Some of the best performances are the vampires, who do great work with body language. Danny Huston as the lead vampire commands the screen, and I wanted more of him. There's something so unforgiving about the cold, especially at night. And combined with the ferocity of these enemies, we never once feel like our heroes are overpowered or even safe. I guess my main point is that this isn't the kind of flick where you cheer on the monsters as they turn bad actors into lasagna. 30 Days of Night is entertaining, but it's tough to call it fun, you know? What I can say for sure is that it's well made, uncompromising, and makes you glad to not be there. Next is the South Korean zombie film Train to Busan. I love this movie. The opening scene is a wonderfully creepy moment that tells you everything you need to know. The child actress is phenomenal. What is it with South Korea and incredible child actors? I would encourage them to move here, but then again, American schools, I feel like Train to Busan made a conscious decision to not try and scare the audience. Instead, they replaced all this with a more frenzied action focus. I have mixed feelings on action horror, but Train to Busan nailed it. The action isn't mindless, doesn't make your eyes glaze over, because in typical South Korean fashion, the plot makes you care about the characters and gives them chances to prove themselves. It's been a while since I've watched a fight for survival horror film where I was rooting so passionately for the main crew to live. There's one sequence where 3 men gear up as best they can and battle their way through train cars. All the hits look real, the cinematography is clear and effective, and the way characters move and push makes you feel the physical weight of bodies against bodies. It's exhilarating. While I do think Mr. Hacky Sack from Squid Game gives a limited performance here, the other actors, the writing, the choreography, and sense of panic more than balance that out. And if you like this kind of movie, I'd recommend the series All of Us Are Dead on Netflix. It's only 1 season so far, and it's some of the best zombie content in years. Check it out. Number 3 is the Japanese film Audition. Whoa, this fucking movie, man. Okay, so the first 42 minutes offer nothing scary or even suspenseful. It's not dull though, you keep watching because the main character is likable, and this fake audition to find him a new wife is entertaining. All of this is just step 1. Once our man calls the woman for a date, we see her hunched on the floor and staring at the phone, with a body in a bag next to her. One of the best narrative sideswipes in film. This is step 2, the monster being revealed, and now the horror can begin. But instead of rushing through it, Audition slowly builds that tension. Step 3, the music, the editing, the types of shots being used, all create a feeling of walls closing around the protagonist. You lean forward in your chair, knowing that the horror will reveal itself to the protagonist, but in another hit across the head, Audition goes in a completely different direction. Step 4, we get dropped into a bizarre dream sequence that's designed to make us feel disoriented, even manic. It feels like a real dream, how people seem to drift from one location or one emotion to another, and some of the imagery is just upsetting. And then, finally, we get to an ending so fucked up beyond all repair that I can't show most of it. Violent in its action, excruciating in its precision, and appalling in its joy. It is rough. Horror is all about disturbing people, unless it's the kind that prefers to stab balloons by one's ear. Audition understands that the plot, how it moves and how it can trick us, can make the actual violence more effective. It's a slow burn that wants nothing more than to mess with you. I respect that. Next is the Irish film A Dark Song. A lovely consistency with Irish films is that they look good, and A Dark Song is one of the best looking I've seen. The framing is exceptional. Sometimes it cuts off characters in pivotal moments, other times it highlights empty space to imply other forces occupying it. The colors are vibrant, the cinematography never becomes stale, it all looks so goddamn pretty. I love how procedural the script is. Horror can benefit from being vague, fear of the unknown and all that. But there's something to be said about a film that is this specific about the steps of a ritual and manages to not be boring. Every minute step is explained through the first act, from mini rites to diet, and it was interesting watching each one play out. It also helps that the actor given the instructions is fun to watch. Truth and purity are big themes. These people don't have to just complete steps in a ritual to contact the dead, they must do so without a shred of doubt or distraction. So, Generation Y and Z, we'd be dead. It's solid storytelling, setting up rules that are as important as life and death, and also as brittle as crystal. A Dark Song has enough horror atmosphere and concepts to warrant a watch. It's good looking with a brain, and doesn't mind staying in on the weekend. That's wife material.
This one, the Chamber of the Song. We push off into the void on our journey. Element of fire. The blackness. The boundless, where we sink into the abyss. The tangible. Earth, metal, water. The cycle.
And last is Rosemary's Baby. I always try to put at least one classic on these lists, mostly to affirm which ones actually hold up. There are the obvious reasons for its stellar reputation: the cinematography, Mia Farrow's performance, the core concept of a demonic pregnancy. For me though, there are two ways Rosemary's Baby understands horror so much better than most of its time, and even now. First is the character Minnie Castevet, the friendly and meddling neighbor. She is the last, and I mean the absolute last person you'd expect to be a villain or part of a satanic cult. She's got that fast-talking, wisecracking, sassy attitude that you see in a lot, and frankly too many, supporting characters in the 60s. By making her one of the villains, it adds a whole new level of depth to the character and the plan as a whole. Secondly, the ways that the horror creeps into the plot are both strange and underhanded. And this works beautifully, making us uncomfortable. The chalky smoothies Rosemary is told to drink, the odd necklace with the putrid smell, the fact Rosemary loses weight during the pregnancy. Each evil element is introduced with subtlety, not force. Even the rape scene is shown as a surreal nightmare rather than something violent. This is horrifying stuff and makes perfect sense, as the devil is usually depicted not as a brute, but a trickster. And it's easy to believe Rosemary going along with this for as long as she does, since the individuals who couldn't possibly be involved are the ones benefiting the most from her misery. That is great writing. On top of all the technical achievements, Rosemary's Baby is smart as hell with its horror. Thought out, trippy, and totally deserving of its status.
Entirely natural expansion of the pelvis. You can fight it with ordinary aspirin.
I was afraid it might be an ectopic pregnancy.
Ectopic? I thought you weren't going to read books, Rosemary.
It was staring at me in the drugstore.
And all it did was worry you. Will you go home and throw it away, please?
I will.
Pains will be gone in 2 days. Ectopic pregnancy.
Well, those are some horror films that I think are awesome. Did I miss any? Let me know, I really love reading all the comments. I got other videos in this series, as well as a video on the best horror film per year. Check those out, subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next video.